Today on Unravel, we'll be talking about ESG and sustainable facility management. Once again, we are very privileged to have with us the MD of the Fides Group, Mr. Liam. Welcome. Liam, you are welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so Liam, let's go straight into our discussion. When we talk about ESG, break it down for us. What does it mean when we say ESG?
Okay, so first of all, I think it's just a framework. You know, as with many things in life now, we try to reduce them to a framework for simplicity and maybe it's for better understanding. Sure. So there's three components to ESG, hence ESG. The first being environmental, the second being social, and the third being governance. So those three components are essentially to act as a framework for us to use in our day-to-day lives, be it whatever we do, facility management, health professionals, anything that we do, to help govern how we interact with the environment around us, with society, and essentially to lead us to a more sustainable way of living and a more sustainable way of going forward with our lives.
All right. So I don't know, once again, if you can take it one by one. Let's take environmental and then talk about what environmental means within the context of an organization. Let's take social as well, and then take governance and also talk about it within the context of an organization. ESG.
Yeah. ESG, sure. So maybe it's what I will do, if you permit me, is I'll do it in the context of Fides, being the MD of Fides Group, and how we basically consume that is information internally. So what we do is environmental. To us, what environmental means as a facility management organization, it's basically things such as how we interact or how we have an impact on our environment. So energy consumption, how we segregate our waste, utilities, how we go about reducing our need for utilities, such as, again, electricity, water, etc. But not only that, but I think some of the policies that we have that impact the environment. So what is our view on pest control and the chemicals that are used in pest control? What is our view on the cleaning chemicals that we use? The very products that we even use to clean, what are they made of? Are they sustainable? What is its impact on the environment? So environmental is a very broad topic, or a very broad title, but that's broadly speaking what we're looking at when we talk about environmental. Social essentially is, when you talk about social, I see it more as the human content or the human side of things. So social is the health and the well-being of the people, basically, that are within the organization. Safety as well, obviously. So obviously a broad heading under that would be health and safety policies. And I think just policies that the company have in general to help promote the well-being of your employees, that help the physical and mental well-being of your employees as well. So you've got the social side, and then the governance. I think the governance is almost like the glue. That's how I look at it anyway. So the glue that brings everything together. What policies do you have in place to ensure that this framework does what it's meant to do, essentially? Yes, exactly. How you set up in terms of your internal approval structures, your governance structure with regards to your shareholder structure, your board structure, what about the policies that you've put in place? What about the procurement policies? Broadly speaking, that's how we see the governance side.
So in essence, what we are looking at, environmentally friendly activities in facility management. Is that what we are looking at?
Yeah, I think so. But I think it's very important, to unpack it. You know, we were speaking just before this, and we said that ESG has almost become, it's very cliche now, almost like a gimmick. And I think that people look at it very superficially. They look at it that, do you know what, let's have let's appear from the outside to be ESG friendly. It'll be easier to raise capital. It'll be easier to get contracts from forward-looking organizations and all of these big bilateral, multilateral institutions. So let's appear to be, and let's have the policies that say and do the right things. But I think it's more important that we unpack things and go beyond that. Superficially, yes, this is what it means, and top level, this is what it means. But how do we unpack that? What does it look like all the way to execution on the front line? So I think that's crucially important.
I actually asked that question because now the popular myth out there is that ESG is now seen as a corporate veil. By corporate veil, what I mean is that organizations are not doing things right internally, but they are using ESG to cover up. And so you as an organization, do you have data to prove to people that you are really practicing ESG? It is evidence when it comes to the environmental issues, evidence when it comes to the social issues and the governance issue as an organization. Do you have something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do. We can speak to it. So again, when we look at, let's take each one by one. Maybe I'll speak to what we do in terms of environmental, social, and governance. So environmental, I already spoke to the fact that it's to do with energy consumption, waste segregation, and the impact that you're having on the environment on a day-to-day basis. So under that broad heading, we actively practice segregation on all of our sites. When we segregate plastics, metals, general waste, and even organic waste as well. We've built quite a large compost contraption at one of our sites, bare land, and we send all of our organic waste there and turn it into compost, which we then use back on our sites to fertilize our landscaped area. We then also have rainwater harvesting. We found that on a lot of our sites there's a vast network of drain pipes, rain gutters, and we look for ways and means to direct that all into one sump so that we can use that to benefit the watering of the landscape. One thing that we did find at one of our sites is when we migrated from using treated Dana water to actually using harvested rainwater, the plants responded in kind. It was absolutely wonderful. So yes, it really was. And then another thing that we do is we use solar quite a lot of our sites as well. So we've got sites where solar power the common area lighting. We also have sites where solar panels are actually heating people's water. There's no water boilers, they're solar water boilers. So I think that with regards to the environmental, we've got ways and means in proving that we are indeed thinking about that in terms of the ESG. Another thing, again, under environmental, I think that I would like to touch on is pest control, something that's crucially important and very dear to our hearts at Fides. So pest control, what we try to do is we try to be very proactive rather than reactive when it comes to pest control. And what we mean by that is we try to go the organic route before the issue comes. So things such as in our landscaping, we'll try to use plants that encourage populations of the dragonfly, the common dragonfly. One dragonfly, adult dragonfly, consumes about 100 mosquitoes a day in its diet. So there's plants such as I think it's called black-eyed lily or tumbergia, locally known, that you can plant in your landscaped areas that encourage the population of dragonflies. That in turn has a negative impact on the mosquito population. We also try to have places where we have herbs such as lemongrass, thyme, basil, oregano, something else that the mosquitoes don't like. And I think another thing that's pretty important to take note of is that we look at ESG beyond the built environment and beyond brick and mortar and beyond the fixed assets. It's not just about the facility in terms of...
Exactly. I mean, most people think that ESG is all about the building.
Yeah, it's about the occupants as well. So how do you drive behavior and the behavior pattern of the occupants? Because if you have a well-primed facility that is ticking all of the boxes so far as ESG is concerned, but you then have occupants that are ignorant towards segregation, that are ignorant towards how you can improve your ESG parameters, that are ignorant towards turning off your lights or AC when you go out, then it's kind of a cost-90 matter. You understand? So I think that that's hugely important as well. In a lot of our sites, we try to promote a community spirit. So we've got community gardens at a lot of our site that invite kids to come down, help us with the planting of crops, of herbs and things like this. So it gets them more in tune with the environment and to learn a lot of these important things. That's environmental. Social. At Fides, we've recently launched a bicycle subsidy scheme that seeks to try and promote employees to migrate from public transportation over to bicycles. If you do, it's subsidized and you'll get quarterly maintenance. We've also, again, recently launched a mental and physical well-being policy that basically looks at physical and mental well-being of our staff and how we can promote it in terms of a policy. So far we've had talks from experts such as psychologists on the importance of mental health, stress management at work. We've had the Ghana Armed Forces come in to talk and the importance of personal hygiene and what it means to us. So different things that we do at Fides to try and promote that aspect as well. As you can see, the podcast that we do in Fides head office, we've got plants all around us. As much as possible in all of our offices, we try to promote the use of indoor plants to improve the indoor air quality as well. And lastly, I think the governance, like I said, in my opinion, I know people look at these frameworks differently, but governance is the glue. And I've spoken about the policies essentially. So what we try to do is we try to come up with policies that will promote ESG and promote sustainable practice in terms of facility management, and hopefully they're the policies that will allow us to comply with things and be ESG compliant.
Okay, so I will come to the challenges of implementing these strategies that you have mentioned, all these things that you spoke of. But before then, it is believed that you can't talk of productivity when you have not put in place measures to make sure that the employees are well taken care of. Now, with what you have spoken of, is it taking impact on the employees? Is it having an impact on the employees as far as the social is concerned?
Well, I would like to think so, definitely. But there's always room for improvement.
I'll always ask for data. I mean, do you have data to prove that it's having an effect on the employees?
One thing that HR actively track here, we do something in terms of external clients, Net Promoter Score. We also do something internally, which is also like a Net Promoter Score. So I would want to believe that if we speak to HR, they'll have some metric that would be able to help us determine that.
All right.
But again, there's always room for improvement, because coming up with the policies is one thing, but then the execution is another thing. And the biggest difficulty, you said about the implementation, the biggest issue that we have is that I think that we hear all of these wonderful terms and wonderful terminology, and it looks wonderful, right? But we always think that, it's not for us. That's happening elsewhere. Yeah. It's got nothing to do with Ghana. It's got nothing to do with us in Accra. These are just all wonderful exotic things that are happening overseas. Yeah. Where the fact of the matter is that it is a localized matter as well. It impacts us. And everybody has a say. It's not just the Western world that can have a say with regards to this framework or this sustainable way of doing things. It's also here. So I think it's very important to be able to localize it and to be able to let people see the relevance and the importance of this. You understand? And it's quite difficult because it's about taking a long-term view, changing small habits short-term, where you won't see the effect of that or you won't see the impact of that until a very long-term, which is pretty difficult to do, right?
All right. So like I said, now let's look at some of the challenges of implementing these things that you have cataloged. What has been some of the challenges? Is ESG expensive? Because that is one of the myths out there that, some institutions or organizations are not implementing ESG strategies because they feel it is expensive. Is it expensive? And now we can also look at the challenges as well.
Okay, so I think there's two sides to this, right? So you spoke about how the data sets and getting data. I think if you want to implement technology to be able to measure it, I think you can start thinking about expensive then. But if you look about the policies and the changes that you're looking to drive, in my opinion, it's actually a lot of them about cost reduction, right? But I would say it's expensive in terms of time. To be able to do it isn't something that you can just click your fingers like this and expect it to happen overnight. It takes a lot of time. And if we want to quantify time and realize that there's a monetary value to time, yes, it will be expensive. But in terms of initial capital outlay, I don't believe that it's something that we should be scared of, especially in terms of the expense. So no, I don't believe it's expensive.
Yes, but you've not touched on my challenges, the challenges you have encountered in the process of implementing these strategies that you cataloged. What are some of the challenges that you encountered? When you take environmental, when you take social and governance, you mentioned some few things that as an organization, Fides, you have implemented. What has been some of the challenges?
So the major one, I'll go back to it, is that all of these things need to be implemented by people. And if you can't get them to buy into it, then it'll be difficult. And the biggest barrier, I would say, is that having them believe that it is a thing, that it's closer to home than they think. You know, a lot of the time they hear about what's happening with the ice caps and global warming and the ozone layer, and they're like, yeah, well, that's far away. It's not close to us, and everything in Ghana is fine, and you know, Mother Africa is fine, everything is fine. But we're now starting to see, with the effects of illegal mining, with the effects of bringing all of these used clothes into the country, all of these used fridges and everything, we're now starting to see that it's much closer to home than we would expect. So I would say that making it a lot more relatable to our staff is becoming a lot easier because they're starting to see it closer to home. But this is something we've been trying to do. I mean, I quite remember that we convened our first meeting at Fides to come up with our environmental policy back in 2019. That's when we actually first came up with how do we become sustainable as a facility management company. And we actually have 4 values, and we added a 5th value, which was social impact, specifically because of that. So since 2019, this is something that we've been thinking about how we can posture or position ourselves to, I don't want to say take advantage of it, but to be able to be in the right place and to ensure that when we speak of our story, we can say that we did it from a place of being sustainable. So we've been thinking about it since 2019. Now, getting people to buy into it then, it's a lot more difficult than it was now. You know, things are changing now. People are starting to become educated on global warming. People are seeing the effects of global warming. What just happened the other day in Spain, in the southern Spain, in Valencia, and again yesterday, I think in Marbella, with the sudden rainfall. So, you know, it's something that's becoming closer and closer to home, and everybody realizes now that small changes that make a difference. And if we don't come together and unite, then it spells doom for the future.
Now, so if you have asked an organization, they will tell you that the reason why ESG matters to them is because of reputation and then their brand value. And then others will also say that risk management. To you, Fides Group, why does ESG matters to you?
I think for us, yes, how we try to drive change, or not change, I wouldn't say change, or how we try to drive success is always through our values. I think the easiest way to drive anything is through your own value system. And it is the core of our values. It's one of our value I mentioned, and it's something that we firmly believe in. As I mentioned, it's something that we've been discussing for a long time now. So I think that would be the easiest answer. How we can say that, how it's important to us. It's part of us. I don't see a way that facility management can progress without progressing in a sustainable manner, because I think if we do, we become obsolete. So if you want to be part of the facility management story and be part and ride the wave of facility management and the growth of facility management in Africa, there's no way you can do that unless you do it in a sustainable manner and being part of the whole story of sustainability.
All right. So currently the world is moving towards sustainability, like I indicated in my introduction. Now, most banks are now training people within the banks called sustainable champions. As an organization, Fides Group, do you have plans of training staffs within who will take up ESG initiatives and then be at the forefront of ESG activities? Is there a plan like that?
I think that would be the ultimate goal. Currently, we try to drive any change that we try to drive it through our management committee. We have a management committee. I go back to the governance aspect. You have to make sure that you have the correct governance structures internally to ensure that things are driven forward. So currently, we try to drive everything through our management committee. There's a key stakeholder from every department on the management committee, and we try to ensure that information is bottom up, and decisions after that, or anything that decisions that come, ensure that we also filter it all the way down as well. So ultimately, I think it's a wonderful initiative where you can have champions that basically make sure that everybody's aware of it. It's on the top of everybody's mind and the end of everybody's tongues.
But would you advise institutions to also take up sustainability initiative as well?
100%, yeah. If not, you're obsolete.
If not, you are obsolete.
I definitely think so. It's hugely important. You know, I think there's an element of selfishness if you're not. We're starting to realize that. I don't want to go into the wider topic of God creating world and all of those things. But the fact of the matter is that we are just custodians of this wonderful planet. And if we don't treat it with care and a bit of respect, then it's not going to be with us forever, right? So it's as simple as that. If you are selfless, if you want to drive the right values, then it's important that you adhere to sustainable factors. And it's not just sustainable in terms of the environment, sustainable in the way that we treat each other, sustainable in the way that we select the materials that we work with, sustainable in the way that we, again, interact with the environment as well. So there's a whole broad, there's so many topics that fall under ESG. But yeah, I think if you're not adhering to any form of sustainable practice, then yeah, you're almost saying that you don't care.
I mean, I agree. Considering the fact that now illegal mining is now having a toll on us. So if every organization is implementing a sustainability initiative, I'm sure that we will all be on our toe, and then we will think of the environment as well. So, I mean, I agree with that. But maybe your last words for viewers, when we talk about ESG, what are some of the things that you would want to suggest for organizations to undertake?
I think, first of all, to just actually internalize it and to make sure that it's top of the agenda at any meeting that you have. It should be central to your strategy. It should be central to your mission, your vision, your values, and you should ensure that as you drive forward thinking about all of your key stakeholders. And a key stakeholder is the environment. We don't think of it because it's not a regulator, it's not a person, it's not a vendor, but it's very important. So just make sure that it's central to whatever you do. And if you do that, then I think we'll move forward in a sustainable manner.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much once again. Yeah, so viewers, like I said, this is your premier destination for facility management content. We've said it all. You've also heard it all about ESG and then implementing some strategies. Thank you very much for watching this edition. We'll come your way next time. Do have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.